Uh-huh. Oh, I'm so close. Yes. Yes. Yes! That was a good one. Oh, hi. I'm so sorry. I didn't even see you come in. I was just in the middle of some very important video essay stuff. What do you mean you don't believe me? Okay, fine. You caught me. I wasn't doing very important video essay things underneath my bed covers. You've caught me red-handed. A very apt description in this case. You caught me playing with my whole game. My whole game. All in Whole is a mobile game in which players assume the identity of a whole and then eat goal items so that they can pass the level. According to the game's description on the Apple Game Store, you are helping this character, Molly the Mole, on a snack-swallowing adventure. Speaking of some snacks I'd like to swallow, Molly herself isn't really represented in any of the levels, though. In fact, until I looked this up, I didn't even know who this character was. The controls are very simple. Players simply use their index finger, dragging it across the screen in whatever direction they wish their hole to go in. As the hole navigates, items that fit fall right in. As the hole eats, which is a bit of a misnomer, but we'll get into that later, the hole gets larger, allowing for the consumption of increasingly larger items. Things start off simply enough with just berries and small fruits being initially offered to our juicy, hungry void, but as time goes on, it becomes more complex. Having passed over 900 levels at this point, I can tell you that I've had everything offered to me from movie tickets to leprechauns and alligator floaties. A balanced meal for a growing hole. In addition to the goal items that you need in order to pass the level, you can also consume coins, collectibles, or boost items. Coins are helpful as you need $800 in order to add on an extra minute of time if you run out before getting all the goal items, or you accidentally consume a bomb. Yes, there are explosive devices threatening our holes. More on that later. Collectibles change semi-regularly. At the time that I'm filming this, I have seen chef hats, easels, and coffee mugs. If you collect enough of these, you may get boost items, coins, or even infinite lives for a limited amount of time. Boost items include things like hourglasses, which add more time, or magnets, which bring items to you as you get close enough. Pass enough levels on your first try, and you're even rewarded with free boost items, ready and eager to be swallowed up by your hole. Everybody, be cool. All in Whole is free to play, although there are in-game purchases you can make if you find yourself struggling with the level. Many players have reported that this becomes basically unavoidable, especially as you get to the higher levels, although other players have countered this, claiming they've never had to spend a dime. So it's possible it's a case-by-case basis. Mechanically simple and lacking anything resembling a plot, it's simply a series of inexplicable charcuterie boards where watermelons, red cars, and pool balls sit side by side, waiting to be consumed. Consumed by your ever-hungry, ever-expanding, never-satisfied hole. Everybody be cool. There are other less interesting aspects of gameplay, or at least to me anyway. For example, daily tournaments against the other players, rewarding you for passing the levels faster than others. Occasionally they put in coin levels, which are basically just you going around collecting coins. These ones usually come up right before a new menu is unlocked. Boost items and collectibles are not available in coin levels. If I was going to give you a cookie review of this game, I would probably echo one of my fellow players' review over on the All in Whole's Google Play page.
This was supposed to be a cute twig, but the silly thing has way more to offer. The colours are bright and happy. They use a mix of 80s and 90s nostalgia and current food fads that keeps things interesting. And they're generous with ways to earn power-ups without having to spend cash. The levels have all been incredibly varied. Hard means hard, and there are added challenges of all kinds all at once.
All in Whole is a addictive, fun little game that gives you the satisfaction of seeing multiple items being swallowed by a giant hole. While there are ads and some in-game purchases, they are relatively unobtrusive, and it does seem possible to continue progress without ever spending a cent, although it may take you longer to pass certain levels. Its game mechanics are so simple as to, quite frankly, probably be rather boring to more experienced game players or people looking for more of a challenge. Still, it is a fun way to burn through some free time, especially if you're looking for something just to turn your brain off for a little bit. That's the whole game. Or is it? Because if I was doing a normal review of a normal game, then maybe that would be the whole story, WH, that time. But oh no, this is all in whole we're talking about. This is not some mere twig, as that one reviewer said. Nah, that is what all in whole's devs want you to think. I refuse to believe that. You can't fool me, Molly. The reality is much darker and much deeper than any hole you can think of. Okay, maybe not any. All in whole is a reflection of our own society being held up to us. Shall we take a closer look, my gentle, dear, and intelligent audience? Or will we quake and fail to act now while there's still a chance? Be warned. When you look into the hole has a tendency to look back. Nobody's gonna be cool about this, are they? The environmental storytelling of All in Whole is minimal, leaving the player to speculate about their whereabouts. Some minimal touches may offer a hint of two. Tiles to invoke the feeling of a pool, a bit of green to invoke the feeling of grass, that sort of thing. But otherwise, we're not given that much to look at. Almost as if we're not really meant to notice, or they're meant to be inconsequential. After all, elaborate decor or dressing would distract us from our true purpose, wouldn't it? Invisible walls at the edge of each level keep us, the whole, inside our platform, trapped in our endless looping consumption. The consumables are the main stars, of course. Dazzling displays of ripe fruit, beverages, desserts, school supplies, toys, and holiday decor. In each level, the items are offered up in neat rows, colorful circles, platforms offered up to heaven, aesthetically pleasing and waiting to be laid to waste. Who arranged these buffets? Yet another one of All in Whole's mysteries. It seems highly unlikely that these were left here simply by accident. The manner in which they're displayed, the attention to detail, points to intent. But what is the intent other than for us to eat it? Beyond the issue of sizing and the presence of the bombs, it's not exactly difficult to eat your way through each level. There are no platforms, no puzzles to solve. While a few of the levels are larger and thus require a bit more strategy in order to use your limited time wisely, for the most part, they're just wide open flat spaces. It's almost as if whoever, whatever set this all up wants us to progress. As if it wants us to just keep eating and eating until nothing is left. As players progress, the levels begin to feature less traditionally edible options, things like ottomans, umbrellas, and grandfather clocks. We were promised a snack-swallowing adventure by the game's description, yet what mole is choosing a pencil over a tasty cinnamon roll? Who is snacking on a teddy bear? Shout out to the twin community! But that's when I noticed something crucial. While not everything in All in Whole is edible, everything offered up is a consumable. Everything could be purchased online or even in a physical store if you're kinky like that. The whole is a consumer of it all. That's right, folks. This game isn't just about my gaping, never ceasing hole. All in Whole is about capitalism. More than once used the term eating to describe what the hole does in the game, but that's not really accurate. The hole is just a giant empty opening, supposedly leading to a mole's digestive system, but it doesn't really look that way, does it? It has no teeth, no throat or stomach, none that we can see anyway. No eyes and ears or semblance of intelligence. It's a void that seems to lead to some other reality that we can't even imagine. We're told that this is a mole's hole, but what mole's hole looks like the hole in All in Whole? No hole. I tell you, this is a unique, one-of-a-kind type of hole. Trust me. I've seen a few holes in my day. When the hole slides underneath an item of suitable size, that item simply falls in. sometimes quickly and other times painfully slow, seeming to tease our hole for a moment before mercifully slipping in. The hole assumes the position, with our help of course, and then gravity does all the work. With that in mind, isn't it possible that the dev team did this deliberately to imply that capitalism is of a similar nature, an inevitable force that will drive all towards it? Gravity and physics are major aspects of the game mechanics, allowing players to take advantage of both. Struggling to get something in your hole? Well, just wiggle it around a little bit, and then eventually it'll fall in, ass over tea kettle. Maybe quite literally. If you avoid reading the description of the game before playing, like I did, you might find yourself questioning the origin of the hole. Where did it come from? When did this endless cycle of consumption begin? Many of us, quite a lot actually, were born into systems of power that we did not create, and yet we are expected to continue upholding them, keeping the tradition on without question or critique. Patriarchy and white supremacy have certainly become basically synonymous with the good old US of A where I happen to live. While the world of All in Whole seems devoid of the challenges of our own, I do find myself wondering about what power dynamics might be lurking just out of sight. Is the whole a captive, or more along the lines of a ruler, sucking up the resources of the lands under its sovereignty? Why do we never see Molly? What does she have to hide? Show yourself, Molly! Answer for your crimes! Taken at face value, the reality of All in Whole could seem far more simple and pleasant than our own, arguably even a utopia of sorts. Endless resources in a land devoid of racism, patriarchy, or transphobia. The Whole has no gender of its own, Molly be damned, given equal opportunity to eat whatever signifiers of gender it desires. But the Whole is also never satisfied. After every level comes another, and another, and another, over and over again. Each level we pass gives us yet another opportunity to eat Easter bunnies, toy helicopters, and swimsuits, with only time acting as our limiting factor. And our reward for passing each level is to do so again and again and again. I have seen people claim to have passed thousands of levels of this game. Thousands! The implications of that are horrifying. Author and main uncle Stephen King once said that hell is repetition.
Because that's what hell is all about, Robbie. Repetition. I think in our hearts, most of us know that.
Maybe hell is also a hole, trying to constantly fill itself up in vain.
Because hell is a well.
The Whole knows no hate, sure, but it also knows nothing of love either. The Whole does two things. It eats and it exists. That's it. The Whole has no art, no music. It doesn't spend time with loved ones or watching TV on the weekends. It just constantly fills itself, only to have to start all over again. Ouroboros meets Sisyphus. How sad it must be to always be so empty despite constantly trying to fill yourself and your hole. And if we wish to better understand All in Whole, what, pray tell, are we to make of the bombs? I didn't spend much time talking about this at the top, but after a few starter levels, All in Whole introduces bombs. Afterwards, they are present throughout all of the levels in various quantities, with the exception of the coin collecting levels. If consumed, the bombs will force an immediate start over, unless of course the player has the coins to continue on. Failing that, a game over will cause the player to lose any of the inherent bonus items that they've been given, thus forcing them to use their own arsenal, assuming they have any. It is therefore suggested that you try to avoid the explosives as much as possible. Bombs, like everything else in the game, have their own physics, and they can be moved with other items, or even the hole itself, as long as you're careful. The bombs are an annoyance, a hindrance to be sure, but an active villain, they are not. Unless interacted with, the bombs are immobile. They do not seek or seem to be drawn to the hole. They don't really seem to have much in the way of intent or desire of their own at all, in fact. Their detonation upon being consumed is an involuntary defense mechanism. It's basically more akin to a reflex as opposed to an active desire to do harm. Players learn pretty quickly that if they avoid the bombs, then they won't get blown up. That's a small comfort though, isn't it? I mean, sometimes bombs are located near or even on top of desired items, forcing players to interact. It's all well and good to tell someone to just not do something, but I think most of us who are paying attention recognize the reality of that happening. At some point, interaction with the bombs becomes inevitable. They will get into your hole, and they'll just ruin it. They'll just ruin your hole, man. And here we could make some interesting comparisons to the woes of modern society. Could the bombs represent the pitfalls that so often befall us? Illness and injury certainly can set us back. It can never be truly avoided if one lives or plays long enough. Not to mention, it typically requires a certain amount of standing wealth in order to overcome. While the game is technically free to play, as was mentioned previously, some players have reported having to spend money in order to pass the more challenging of the levels. I myself have run into this issue a couple of times and have spent a somewhat humbling amount of money on this game. I'm just gonna write it off as a business expense on my taxes next year. It's fine. The deliberate nature of All in Whole's design points to a particular intent, and not a particularly clever or unique one. It's to make money. Obviously. By making some levels more difficult to traverse, you increase the likelihood of players spending money to get more boost items, particularly extra time. You can also spend money on no ads or extra lives. Not all players, not even the most dedicated of holers, are going to have the extra money to spend. Intentionally or not, All in Whole favors its more financially comfortable players, ensuring that they are the ones with the most likelihood of success. All in Whole rewards success, not just in the advancement of levels, of course, but also with boost items. The game especially encourages players to beat levels on the first try, cruelly ripping away Molly's bag from them if they fail. Players with the funds to keep themselves going long enough to pass a level will thus be rewarded with more free boost items at the beginning of the next one, thus continuing their chances of success. You're a smart audience with impressive holes of your own. I'm sure you can see that we can make some comparisons here to wealthy people who tend to have an inherent extra leg up and thus more opportunities for success than the rest of us. Tax the holes of the 1%! Cycles of consumption and success, growing and shrinking, are at the core of the whole experience. You continually eat to get bigger, only to start off as a small hole at the beginning of the next round. You traverse a liminal space, only to have to do so again, albeit with a different buffet presented. You're entered into tournaments and special player events that just keep repeating. Ouroboros meets Sisyphus. Why can't we escape? Why is there no end? I can stop playing anytime that I want. I can. Can't I? Shouldn't I? What happens? You know, if I don't? Will Molly get me? And it never can be. Don't you see? Don't you get it? They won't let it. Of course I'm upset. World sucks. I've got a million things to do. I'm broke. And instead of dealing with any of that, I'm here. I know what you want me to do. No, I won't. I have to break this cycle. You can't make me. I have to get out of here. Or what? Huh? What are you gonna do? Huh? Caption at me? What is that? What's going on? Something's getting closer. Depression is a hell of a thing, huh? Could a depressed person make this? I want to make it clear that I'm fine. Or, as fine as I can be under the circumstances. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and just insert an unscripted bit here. Pretty sure my roommate started the dishwasher, which is literally located right above this room, so if there's some thudding and such, I apologize. Admittedly, all of the...
They are bringing the founding fathers back from the dead to regurgitate conservative talking points.
This morning, there are no plans in sight to end the war.
The video shows ICE agents pulling a man from a white vehicle and handcuffing him after he'd been shot.
Sam Neill, the actor who brought quiet gravity to some of the biggest films of his generation, has died.
It's having a bit of a mental toll on me, but like, who isn't going through it right now, right? I have for a while been in the position in which trying to find balance in my life has been challenging, but man, 2026 has made it damn near impossible. If I focus on cooking and meal prep, then I'm not doing as much writing as I want to. If I am doing as much writing as I want to, I'm not getting enough sleep. If I'm on top of my bills, I'm in danger of not having enough money for myself to eat. And if I am on top of that, well then more than likely I'm about to get hit with a bill for my cat's dental work. Links to my Patreon, Venmo, PayPal, and Coffee down below. I have to stay informed, keep my apartment clean, occasionally visit a loved one in person to keep myself sane, and also somehow find the time in the midst of all of this to get rest? What? Late stage capitalism is taking a toll on me and every last one of my holes, to be honest with you. And I just don't know how much more I can take. The cycle has to be broken. I know I'm not the only one basically at capacity here. I have seen everybody I know start to buckle. And I know some resistant, badass motherfuckers, okay? The fault does not lie with them. It lies with the onslaught, with just the constant barrage of everything we have to deal with on top of everything else we already were. Subscription-based services are fucking out of control. AI-generated flyers are popping up for events all over this city, let alone elsewhere outside of the state, I'm sure. Everybody is trying to keep themselves afloat with side hustles and gigs that are barely even worth it at this point. Oh, healthcare. Oh, good luck with that. That's basically not a thing anymore. Guess you should have thought about that when you didn't have the good sense to be born rich, huh? Better luck next time. Half an hour from here in Biddeford, Maine, a week before I filmed this, a man was shot and murdered by ICE. His name was Johann Sebastian Duranguero. He was 26 years old, and he was here legally, not that that should matter. After he was murdered, he was handcuffed. His dead body was dragged out of the car and then handcuffed and left on the pavement up to 5 hours by some reports. He is survived by his wife and his 3-year-old daughter. A link to the fundraiser for Johann's family will be in the description box down below. I am so tired, folks. Like, really very tired. When I look at everything that I need to tackle in my own life, all of the pieces and parts and steps, not to mention everything that needs fixing in my country, I just get so overwhelmed sometimes, and I just can't. And I freeze. And then I sink into a dark, deep place within myself. And when that happens, I take out my phone, poke that little icon, and then I just direct a hole for a little while. And I hate myself just a little bit every time I do. I don't want to eat for the sake of eating. I don't want to endlessly consume bikes. I want to ride one. To float on top of an alligator floaty as opposed to letting it just fall into my endless void. I want to live. And that's getting increasingly difficult to do. I know this is the part of the video where I'm supposed to come in and give you tangible steps and some hope, but I don't think I can do that today. I just can't. I'm sorry. I can't be that person for you when I can barely even be that for myself right now. Whatever escape you're looking for, it's not here. I certainly haven't found it yet. I'm just as trapped as that hole in any level of the game. The hole got me. All in Whole is not the only hole game out there, far from it. There are dozens more. Zen Hole, Hole 'em All, Tiles in Hole, Whole Swallow All, Eat It. These are just a few of the titles you can find out there if you go looking. From what I've seen, these are all basically interchangeable. Some differences in graphics, layouts, and barely their plots, but the same basic game mechanics underneath. Directing a hole through a layout full of inexplicable charcuterie boards, power-ups and boost items at your disposal, success begetting more success, and failure being punished. All in Whole was my default for a while, as the rest just felt like slightly worse imitators. Important caveat here, technically I don't know which of these games came first because I didn't bother checking the copyright dates for all of them, so, you know, just kind of keep that in mind. What to make of the popularity of these hole games? And why they are continued to be made, let alone played, by people like me. Maybe it points to the simple pleasure of seeing an area swept clean. Maybe it's more about the nostalgia that this game produces in us. Or maybe even the existential dread. Their popularity does make a kind of sense though, doesn't it? We've talked much about cycles in this video. And isn't the endless parade of ravenous voids further evidence of its inescapable influence? If we don't like one hole, we can easily replace it with another. Easily done with a downgrade in graphics and a title change. Familiar enough to be a comfort, but then also still different enough to produce those all too brief drops of serotonin. And that's what I expected for myself. No satisfactory conclusion, no tidy credits over a fun song that plays us out. Just staring into a void and knowing it's staring back. But then I found Whole Stars. Whole Stars may seem yet another game in which you direct your hungry, never satisfying, gaping hole around an endless layout of buffets, gobbling up everything you can. But this one is unique. Wholly unique, you might say. For one thing, unlike most imitators, Whole Stars actually adds in new game mechanics as you go along, ones that I didn't see in All in Whole yet. Things like spiders, which when you eat will cause a spider web to cover up your hole, keeping items from falling in. Or ghosts, which act as kind of the opposite of a magnet, repelling items away from you. Occasionally, moving targets are added, like these cute little robots or these bouncing blue dudes. The level design is a lot more varied as well. Sometimes you have to collect keys in order to unlock certain areas, and there's also usually a lot more strategy needed in order to make sure that you're collecting items in the allotted time available. The hole control is also a lot better in Whole Stars, like it feels a lot less weighed down than in All in Whole, which is really nice, to be honest. I, for one, really hate when my hole does not have the freedom to move just as easily as it likes. And best of all, if you fail to pass a level after a certain number of times, the game just takes pity on you and starts giving you boost items for free. All in Whole still wants your money. It still has continuous events and mindless tournaments that frankly bore me. I am still hoping to eventually find a whole game that has like a Zen level where, you know, there's no timer, you just kind of do what you want, and also allows me to replay certain levels. We ultimately deserve a lot better than what the devs have given us. We don't deserve just inevitability and bombs that force an immediate loss of scrapped together wealth. We don't deserve just an endless continuous cycle of consumption for the sake of it. We deserve something new. Something better. In a world of Molly's, I suppose I would much rather be a star, sure. But I actually think that's not where I want to end up. I want to be something else completely. A secret third kind of hole, if you will. You were promised a completely normal review of All in Whole. So here it goes. All in Whole is fine. It's a great way to kill some time if you want a mindless, repetitious, simple game. It will never provide any satisfactory answers as to why you're there, or why any of us are here, come to think of it. What it will do is allow you to fill up your hole over and over again as many times as you'd like. I've wanted that before, but I don't think I want that now. If you do decide to play all in whole, here's some advice. Tornadoes, magnets, or any kind of like suction power-up should really only be used if you're trying to swallow up lots of small objects very quickly. Too many times I found that it just caused larger items to get stuck in my hole and even block it to keep other items from getting in, so personally, I don't find them very worth it. When done well, flinging bombs is pretty fun. However, don't get too cocky. Remember, physics is kind of the original fuck around and find out, bro. Don't give them money. Just don't. If you find yourself having a hard time getting past a level, just find another hole, or maybe go outside and do something else for a little bit. I don't believe anything is inevitable. Not capitalism or a mindless, hungry, gaping hole swallowing everything in its path. I also don't believe that there is ever a hole so deep that one can't find their way out of it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, and it certainly isn't going to happen overnight. But a hole can be climbed out of. It can even be closed for good. Oh, one last thing. Molly, consider your days numbered.
Everything is going to shit. I wanna throw it in a massive pit. When everything is taking its toll, I wanna stash it in a gash like I'm packing a bowl. When everything is broken and bent, I just need a little time to vent. When fulfillment is my only goal, I gotta give in to the urge and just play with my hoe. When everything is going amiss, I wanna stuff it in a giant abyss. When everything is out of control, I wanna stick it in a void that's the size of my soul. When everything is said and done, I just wanna have a little fun. And so you'll find me playing with my whole. Nothing could be greater than to jam it in a crater, so it's time to swallow everything and save nothing for later. When I see a gaping chasm, I can have an orgasm. Need a toy full of holes, and baby, this bitch has them. Pop it in my lap, got my fingers on the button. Just inhale it so good, I think I'm gonna start nutting. Is there more to this than just an orifice? Can a hole catch feeling? Should I give it a kiss? Oh God, I'm talking crazy. No thoughts, just crevice. I'm stretching my hole away, I'm stretching this premise. It's a whole innuendo, if you know what I mean. I'm not the king of comedy, but I'm the Fisher Queen. Sorry if I scared you with the depth of my depravity, but I can only function when I'm filling up a cavity with every single object in the world. When everything is going to shit, I wanna throw it in a massive pit. When everything is taking its toll, I wanna stash it in a gash like I'm packing a bowl. When everything is broken and bent, I just need a little time to vent. When fulfillment is my only goal, I gotta give in to the urge and just play with my hoe. When everything is going amiss, I wanna stuff it in a giant abyss. When everything is out of control, I wanna stick it in a void that's the size of my soul. When everything is said and done, I just wanna have a little fun. And so you'll find me playing with my hole.
Hi, I'm your hole. You look stressed. Dump all that frustration into me, please. You can put whatever you want in me. It would feel so good. Come on, just play with me. Don't you just want to put stuff in me? Fill me up, pretty please. Yay! Yeah! Yay!
67!
All right. I'm done talking about my hole now. I'm done. We can move on now. Okay, are we done? Okay, bye.